All right, guys. So right now it's Thursday. We got the Saints versus the Rams coming up. So the season's. I think there's about a few weeks left for the rest of the season. So one thing that I really wanted to get into was talking about the MVP race because as of last week, Dak Prescott, you could say, was the front runner for the MVP race. Was playing some of the best football, arguably everyone can probably say in his career, playing at a higher level that even Tony Romo, his predecessor, could ever play at. Fell out. He's completely out of the race as of right now, just because of the stinker that he put up against the Buffalo Bills, which is sad because nobody's surprised. Like people were more surprised that Dak Prescott was playing at a consistently elite MVP level for 6 weeks in a row. Two of those weeks being against really good teams with the Seahawks, and then going beating the hell out of Philadelphia at home. So it's kind of bummed out. You kind of want to see Dak put it all together, but at the end of the day, I'm on record for Dak for saying that Dak he's shown us who he is. He's had several moments to show us that he is that elite MVP caliber. He's had opportunities to show us that he's that elite MVP caliber guy, but he always will leave you falling on your face. So I even fell for it. I said, "Oh shit, Mike McCarthy's in his ear. Dak, this is different. I've never seen Dak play like this." But then midnight comes, he turns back into a turkey. So now, as far as the MVP, it's a three-man race, and it's interesting. There's a couple things that are interesting. The three guys I'm talking about, of course, you got Lamar Jackson, quarterback of the Ravens, one of the best dual threat quarterback of all time. I got a video in the past saying that he's better than Michael Vick. He's already accomplished more by year three than Michael Vick ever did in his career. By year four, he won his first playoff game. I think Vick has won one playoff game, maybe. Yeah, I think he's won one. But yeah, this Lamar Jackson's the best dual threat ever. You got Brock Purdy, quarterback of the 49ers, and then you got Christian McCaffrey, uh, the running back of the San Francisco 49ers. So those are the three kind of favorites for MVP. I'm sure you can look up the odds online. As of right now, today, it'd be a pick 'em. So I'll get into who I think the MVP should be, and then I kind of we'll get into one of the other interesting things that I said is interesting about this upcoming week in the NFL. So the reason why people love the NFL, especially like avid NFL junkies fans like myself, is you could be watching any game. Like tonight is the Saints versus the Rams, two 7-7 teams. I think that one's trying to win the division, one's trying to get into the wild card. But there's going to be something that happens in any NFL game at any given moment that you're going to sit back and say, "I've never seen that before." It could be the way a ball bounces on a fumble. It could be a call that changes the outcome of a game. It could be a coach cursing out a player. There's going to be something in each game that has never happened in the 100-year history of the NFL. I guarantee it. So something crazy is probably going to happen tonight after the Saints game, and I'll be able to talk about that hopefully. But so the reason I say that is because Monday night we're going to have something that has never happened before in the NFL. So you're going to have, like I said, the three MVP frontrunners. You're going to have the Ravens playing the 49ers on prime time Monday night while all of their MVP odds practically hang into the balance of one game. We've never had a situation where there's been two MVP frontrunners on one team, a quarterback and running back, playing another MVP frontrunner this late into the season, both trying to vie for maintain a one seed in the respective conferences. So um, what does this game mean? So I think the 49ers are favorited. They should be favorited because they do have the best team. They have the most firepower out of any team in the NFL. And by that, what I mean by that is that when the 49ers explode, go off on a team, they look like world beaters. They look like the best team ever. Like they look like they can beat anyone in the history of the NFL when they're firing on all cylinders. If we're talking about the most valuable player, Lamar Jackson is definitely the most valuable player. But so what I mean is if you take Lamar Jackson off the Ravens, they're not they're a pretty bad team. They're go from being the best in their conference to probably being the worst with the way that the Bills, the Browns, and the Bengals are playing. They'd be fine. Yeah, they would be under 500. Pretty. They have a good coach. They have a good culture. But Lamar Jackson is what makes that team who they are, just because his ability to make something out of nothing on a consistent basis and just create positive opportunities for the offense, keep drives alive, put points on the board at the end of the day. It's like nothing we've ever seen before with his legs and his arm. So he's the most valuable player. Why not just call it quit? What's the race? Let's just give it to him. The thing with Lamar is he's who has already won an MVP in the past. As far as passing the ball, he's not putting up the gaudy touchdown stats that he was in 2019. I believe he threw 36 touchdowns. His MVP year. Then I think he ran for like another. Don't quote me on this, but like 9 to like 12 to 15 or some crazy number like that. And he's gonna compile a lot of yards this year. But as far as getting into the end zone, because what the Ravens have done, if you keeping track, if you have Lamar on your fantasy team, he's moving the ball up and down the field. But a lot of times they'll get into the red zone, and their running backs are getting a lot of goal line touchdowns. Like guys like Gus Edwards have been eating a lot this year, just because they're getting into easy running goal line touchdown situations, and that's all because of Lamar. But at the end of the day, MVP, we know, is not just who's the most valuable player for their team. It's that on top of who has putting up the most ridiculous stats that cannot be overlooked. His stats, if you look at Lamar Jackson's stats on paper, they're crazy because the rushing, he's going to rush for about 1,000 yards. He's going to throw for over 3,500 yards. But as far as the touchdowns, it's not going to be like, oh shit, this guy's fucking going crazy. Excuse my language. And that's where it brings me to who I think should win the MVP and is the most valuable player, is Christian McCaffrey. This guy, he's making the best case for a non-quarterback winning the award since Adrian Peterson in 2012. Remember that year coming off of the ACL injury. So Christian McCaffrey, their offense, he's pretty much the sun of their solar system. Just like Tyreek Hill is the sun for the Miami Dolphins solar system, everything is based off of Christian McCaffrey. Yes, they have Debo, who is also could be looked at as a very important piece of that offense. But that offense, there's a lot of motioning around. I guarantee you, in those defensive meetings, the first thing that the defense is probably emphasizing, where is Christian McCaffrey? Because they'll put him, sometimes they'll have him in the backfield, single back, Brock Purdy under center. Sometimes he'll be in the shotgun normal. But a lot of times they'll have him motioned out, moving around, moving right back. And they also do this one thing with him where they'll put him almost in like an H-back, kind of like offset tight end alignment before a play, and he'll just run those angle routes in the goal line, especially in the goal line. So center, guards, tackles, quarterback, Chris McCaffrey will go from right here to right here, right behind the guard and in between the center. He'll kind of get lost behind him after the snap, and then he'll just run an angle route in man or zone, and he scored like 3-4 touchdowns in the goal line off of just that play alone this year. So his versatility, and then two, what makes him, what I think is still even underestimated, just because when you see it, you just almost don't believe what you're seeing. This guy, he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's not your average white boy running back who just is just powerful. Peyton Hillis. He's not a Toby Gearhart type guy. He's built like, he's smaller than LaDainian Tomlinson was, but he runs with so much power through in the middle of the line. Inside runs. You can run him on the inside. You run him dope. I've seen them run him goal line and like 3 times in a row to power into the end zone. And he was a willing participant. He didn't shy away, nothing. He was running just as hard on third down, trying to punch it into the end zone as he did on first down. And you just don't see that out of guys who are as skilled as he is and as small as he is. So I think that's what really makes him. He's a quote unquote third down back he's a third down back and a every down back combined into one. So we've seen things like this as far as like I guess the best comparison for Christian McCaffrey, it would be a Marshall Faulk. But Christian McCaffrey runs with more aggression inside handoffs than Marshall Faulk does, and the goal line than Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk, they're putting in Steven Jackson or some shit when it's the goal line. McCaffrey's right there. I mean, they don't have a big, powerful back to, I guess, take those carries from him. But from what I've seen, the way that he runs in the goal line is he runs with power. He runs so next time you watch him, that's what makes him the complete back. And I think that he should win the MVP, but this game on Monday is going to the cream's going to rise to the top. So if the Niners win because of McCaffrey, he's probably going to be the favorite and just coast to the award. If Lamar Jackson does something ridiculous and upsets the 49ers, I think it's in San Francisco, then that's going to be ridiculous. And then let's get to Brock Purdy. So very interesting. I think he missed 1 or 2 games this year. He's putting up great numbers in this offense. He's a damn good quarterback. So we're past the point where we're saying, can this last pick in the draft guy can play? He can play. He 100% can play. But one thing that I just can't overlook is that he is in the friendliest quarter in the most quarterback friendly offense in the NFL. So what I mean by that is playing quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers with those weapons, with that offensive coordinator, more importantly, it's going to be easier than, say, playing quarterback under Bill Belichick for the New England Patriots with those guys on with those weapons to work with on offense and those offensive schemes. If you say there's not a lot of speed on the outside, there's not a lot of imagination, creativity into the offense. So a lot of and there's not the threat of a elite running game. So the 49ers running game is so good, and they got multiple guys that can run the ball. They're good running the ball up the middle, between the tackles, outside handoffs, sweeps, reverses, pitches. So the defense has to worry about all these weapons flying around that, especially on play action, when Brock Purdy, 9 times out of 10, when he's turning around on play action, his first read's open. And his first read's usually open by a lot. Like, how many times have we seen him throwing it to Kittle or McCaffrey or Ayuk, and they're wide the fuck open, and they just kind of back into the end zone almost. But there are times where I've seen him having to make plays with his feet. And I think that's what really makes him a good quarterback, is his ability to extend plays. He's a very good athlete. He kind of reminds me of but it's kind of unassuming when you look at him. He's kind of like how Tony Romo or even Joe Burrow is like a really good athlete where they can buy themselves a lot of time and even get out the edge. He's a better athlete, honestly, than Joe Burrow and than Tony Romo. He's faster than those guys. So don't get me wrong. I don't want to take anything away from what he's doing. It is very impressive. He's leading that looks like one of the most crazy offenses I've ever seen. But I'm saying, I don't think he's good enough to overcome to where if he was on the Ravens would be 10-4. If Lamar Jackson was on the 49ers, they would be undefeated. You get what I'm trying to say here? So if he ends up, though, against the Ravens, throwing for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, McCaffrey only has like 1 rushing, 1 catching, and Purdy leads a game-winning drive, then he's going to be the front runner. And honestly, Brock Purdy is who the NFL would like to see win the award. Lamar Jackson's already won it. It's a quote-unquote a quarterback award. They can always just give Offensive Player of the Year to Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy is the story that they want. The NFL is all about storylines, and they're all about just what is going to be the best thing that they can sell. So the guy that was the last pick in the draft came out of nowhere a year later, undefeated, and they're hoping that the 49ers win the Super Bowl. I'm telling you, that would be a good story for the league, but I don't think he's the most important guy in that offense. It's Christian McCaffrey, and I honestly think the second most important guy is Deebo Samuel. So we'll see. As far as predictions, I don't have one yet. We'll see what happens beforehand. When I'm predicting games, I'll probably predict games on Saturday just because we have Chargers Bills. So I'll get back to you guys after this Thursday night game.